Okay, good morning, everyone, ladies and gentlemen. First of all, thank you, Sebastian and Silviane, that you are here today. It has been a big dream, and I'm so very proud of my hometown hosting such a big group of prominent people as you are, my dear friends. So hopefully you get everlasting memories from Oulu. One day behind and one more day to go, so welcome to Oulu. And from Oulu I want to travel to New York. If you have had time to watch television and news, you know that all the leaders of the world are now in New York, meeting and doing historical agreement. Actually, the UN General Assembly has adopted the SDGs, Sustainable Development Goals, for next 15 years. I think that we all remember 2000 when the head of state sat together and decided that we have to do something about the development in emerging countries, and the Millennium Development Goals were set, 8 very important goals, and ICT was actually mentioned in one of the goals. Now with these new 17 goals, I think that we already understand better that ICT can make the difference in development. In this document that was agreed in New York called Transforming Our World, the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development, it acknowledges that the spread information and communication technology and global interconnectedness has great potential to accelerate human progress and to develop knowledge societies. It also sets out ambitious ICT developments, targets in the goals agreed for education, gender and infrastructure, with ICT recognized as a means of implementation for all SDGs. Actually, I have been following closely this process when these SDGs have been put up together, and I wish there would have been a wisdom to see that ICT should have been part of all these 17 goals. It's a pity that we still live in the world that we think that we can go forward next 15 years and not think that ICT part of every single goal, whether it's reducing poverty or clean water or education. But anyway, it's mentioned now in 4 goals, so we are going forward. We'll see what happens in 2030. But this is the life we are living in digital life or digital living, and I think that you all recognize the Maslow's hierarchy of needs on the left side. It's about needs, physiological needs, breathing, food, water. It's about safety. And then when safety is secured, you go to the next level, which is love, belonging, and then the esteem, and the last one is self-actualization. And nowadays, when we live in a digital world, we have some wise people have put the Maslow hierarchy on the levels of different applications that are very important for us. I don't know whether Fitbit is important for all of us, but I think that it helps to follow up your health. But or the Monster is helps one find working positions, or Twitter, Facebook, Flickr. But I think it just tells that how strongly we are involved with different kind of applications and how they are important for our daily bread. And how this is possible, it's about the broadband connectivity. And in a way, one could say that it's a fundamental need in digital living. In Broadband Commission, we quite often discuss whether it's a human right to have access to broadband. In Finland, I think that we are still only country in the world who has made a legal right to have access to internet. And I quite often have said when I have been asked that why legal right, why in Finland? I think in Finland it's an equality issue that we feel in Finland that every Finn has a right to have access, and especially if the public sector wants to develop e-services, everyone should have access to them. But when you go to the developing world, emerging countries, in those countries you might say that it's a human right. Even in UN language, human right is a very delicate issue, so I wouldn't say human right, I would talk about the basic right. But anyway, I think it's the headache of the governments and politicians to figure out that how to succeed of providing the access, whether it's a legal right, a basic right, or universal right, but everyone should have the possibility to have the access to internet. So it's about basic human needs, it's about employment, it's about friends and family, it's about respect of and by others, and of course it's about creativity and sense making. So in traditional world, or the world we are actually living, it's a clear issue that the public sector is using a lot of public money on funding infrastructure. Infrastructure, we know that when the highway comes next to the village or the road, it empowers the society and it provides new businesses and works. Nowadays, I could say, and we say, that broadband is the new highway. Yeah, that's for sure. Data is a new currency. So these are structures in digital economy. Structures in digital economy is, of course, the spectrum. Without spectrum, there is no mobile broadband, and without no mobile broadband, there is no accessibility in many countries. And spectrum is also new oxygen. But it's amazing that since at least everyone here accepts the idea that digital infrastructure is as important as traditional infrastructure. But for many governments, it's very hard to still have this kind of vision. And unfortunately, it means that too often the digital infrastructure is taxed very highly or puts very many kind of regulation obstacles this way that at the end the customer, the poorest of poor, doesn't have the possibility to have access to that infrastructure. I've always have said that it's a great thing, the digital world and digital infrastructure, because the public-private cooperation works very well on this sector. The private sector always stated in the Broadband Commission that if governments regulate right, creates enabling environment, we will build the infrastructure. The public sector doesn't have to put money in it. We see that sometimes in very sparsely populated areas, public sector have to put money. Even in Finland, we have done it. But anyway, mainly the networks are built by the private sector. And spectrum is such a great asset that it's not that some countries have and some doesn't. In Finland, we don't have natural resources. We don't have oil or gas or anything, but we have a spectrum. And I think that we have been quite clever and wise how we have used this asset. And big message for countries should be, and it is, that empowering the country, the best way is to do the right thing with the spectrum, right kind of allocation and right kind of regulation for that. So where are we now? Of course, we represent most of our countries that things are very well in the face of the digitalization. Globally, we have over 7 billion mobile subscriptions. That's great. It's about, when we think that we have 7 billion people in this planet, it's about that everyone should have the mobile subscription. And it's almost this way. But unfortunately, only about 40% of them are broadband access. So most of the people on this planet are still using the 2G mobile connection, and we all know that what kind of things it enables and it doesn't enable. So there are a lot of things to do. But things are improving when we think that 2005 there were only 2 billion mobile subscriptions, and now 2015 there is 7 billion. So it's a great progress, very fast. So Broadband Commission was set 2010 when actually the politicians or government realizes and UN organizations realize that actually ICT is the game changer and something should be done. And the Commission has been promoting the adoption of effective and inclusive broadband policies and practices in countries around the world with a view to achieving development goals and empowering every woman and man and every society through benefit of broadband. And the Broadband Commission has set some goals, and one target was to measure till 2015 that how many countries have a broadband plan. 2005 there were 17 countries, and this year 148 countries. It's a great achievement because also the study by Cisco shows that when there is a plan, there is some kind of action. But the big question, of course, then is that where are the rest of the 50, 60 countries that are missing the plan? Don't they realize how important it is to have the plan for broadband and digitalization? So, unfortunately, by 2015, not every country has a plan, but things are evolving. The second target was that by 2015, there should be affordability. The challenge is not that there wouldn't be accessibility. The private companies are bringing the networks there, but unfortunately, the affordability is much, much bigger issue and challenging. So there are 111 countries that broadband access is less than 5% of monthly income, and that's reasonable. But unfortunately, there are still a lot of countries that it's more than 5%, and it can be even more than 1,000% of your monthly income. And of course, then there is no accessibility or affordability. And what I was talking about, the right kind of regulation and taxation, that's one key. If India had to pay $53 billion for 3G licenses, the telcos there, you can imagine how much it's going to cost for Indians to have this subscription after they have paid off this $53 billion. I'm sure it helped the Indian government to have money in their budget, but it doesn't help for the development of the country. And third target was getting households online. And by 2015, 40% of the households should be online. Unfortunately, the target wasn't reached, and 34% of the households are online. And target 4 was getting people online, and it just shows that we are very privileged. In developing countries, over 80% of people are online, but unfortunately, for example, in least developed countries it's less than 10%. So there's a big gap and a lot of things to do to getting this gap smaller. So there are still a lot of things to do with sustainable development goals, and hopefully these targets that were set by Broadband Commission will be reached. So a couple of proposals from the Broadband Commission how to get these targets. It's about the broadband plan, as I explained. It's about enabling environment. It's about ICT regulations. It's about the promotion education for all. Of course, the digital inclusion is very important and also one of the biggest obstacles. There are a lot of illiterate people, and I would think that many of those are also digitally illiterate. And so we need education is the basic thing, but also the mobile broadband can provide the accessibility to information and this way to education. Investments to broadband, universal fund. Governments have universal fund. They are collecting money from private sector, and this money should be used for the broadband infrastructure. It's about monitoring. We all know that politicians are very good to talk about good goals and make broadband plans and strategies, that how do you actually implement them? That's the much bigger challenge, and monitoring is very important. So to end up my presentation, I want to end up with this slide which was taken in August in Helsinki. And in Broadband Commission, we quite often put on the table the issue of the language and local content. There are thousands of languages in the world, and only 5% of them are present in internet. And I think it's about 500 languages. Only 10 languages provide 80% of the content to internet. So how to get the local content for local players, because the demand for access comes that there is a content that is interested in. We have to work on that. UNESCO is doing great work, but we have to work on that. But I would like to just to give this example because it was very eye-opening for me. My 12-year-old daughter is a vlogger. When she said, "Mom, I'm a vlogger," I didn't know what's a vlogger. I thought it's blogger. No, it's a vlogger. So she makes videos to YouTube. And she wanted me to come to this event where there were 15,000 kids under 18 who were all vloggers, and they were doing local content to internet. They were following each other, some of them making content that is not very valuable, but some making content that they get paid for. So I think that the message should be that when you provide the inclusion, the skills, the tools, the device, and when there is a demand, there is a will, and things will happen. And in Finland, with a population of 5 million, 300 hours of YouTube videos are downloaded to internet daily. And I think it's a great local content. So, ladies and gentlemen, this was my contribution to this discussion. Thank you very much.